Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! Hello, gang. How are you doing? This is a cheat segment. I am recording this as a lead-in to a standard Saturday show that is going to now air through the audio platforms, 25 plus, of Constitutionalist Podcasts. What was formerly a CTP video exclusive that I feel needs to go out as a regular show. So bear that in mind when recorded. It was a video exclusive. The date, it could be from a month ago. It could be from a couple months ago. Bear that in mind when you hear things regarding time frames. It may be from a while ago. Particular references may be a little dated. Without further ado, let's get on with the show! Hello, everyone. I first want to apologize. I might bounce around a bit because I didn't take notes while I was out and thinking about what I would come back and record. I did write down a couple notes like Gruscum, I'm going to talk about Louis Farrakhan, pluribus unum, black only, this, that, the other, left separation and segregation, MLK Jr. So I wrote down those notes, all right? I called into Abolitionist Roundtable this morning, Wham Radio, Saturdays, 9 a.m. Primary host, Phil, who happens to be a Black American. He and I are on the same page. Who was his co-host today? Usually Bruce Fleury, white guy. Today, Milt, another Black American. I will probably call into Ed's Your American Heritage show this afternoon on Wham Radio also. A patriotic American who happens to be white. Oh, I need to write down another note. Cultural appropriation. But what do we have in common as opposed to Gavin Gruscum, who, after talking to Phil and Milt about all this divide and conquer, the left always peddling race, I went to get lunch, come back, but while going to lunch, I hear Gavin Gruscum talking about all this anti-woke stuff is really anti-Black. Bullshit. Pardon, sorry, but bullshit. The only people always talking about Black this, Black that, Latino this, Latino that, Asian this, Asian that, divide, identity politics is leftards. Your leftards, your wokeism is about identity politics and divide and conquer, keeping, just like slavery and Jim Crow laws and segregation that came after all that, leftism, separation, segregation, divide. We on the right, Phil, Milt, Black, I'm white. You will never hear us talk about those terms unless if we're pointing out how the left constantly insists that we talk about that. I don't care about filler milk skin tone. Martin Luther King Jr., the content of their character is what matters. Period. The left, Gruscom, you are the one pointing out Phil and Milt are black, and therefore they must fit into your definition of what a black must be, a black must think, a black must do. You always talking about division. I'm going to forget things. I apologize. Cultural appropriation. Let me go on to that next. If I put on a sombrero and go into a Mexican restaurant to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, it's not cultural appropriation, you retarded morons. It is diversity and inclusion that you claim to be about, but you're not. You're about separation, segregation, pitting, insisting, unlike us, Martin Luther King Jr., insisting that we talk about content of individual character, that that's a Latino, they're in that box. Oh, that's a black, they're in that box. There's an Asian, they're in that box. You are always talking about collectivism, separation, segregation based on skin tones. You do that. Gruscom, leftist, projection, calling anti-woke is really anti-black. No, that's bull. I'm part Italian, German, and Polish in my background, but I'm an American. But yeah, I like Italian food, right? If a Mexican walks into an Italian restaurant I'm at, according to the left, I should scream, cultural appropriation! Get out of here! You don't belong here! No! Please come on in. Welcome. Have you tried gnocchi yet? You gotta try the gnocchi. It's about inclusion. The left all about exclusion, separation, segregation. Me celebrating Latino heritage on Cinco de Mayo, not cultural appropriation. A Mexican wandering into an Italian restaurant, not cultural appropriation. It's part of this thing called, next on my notes, E pluribus unum, written on it several times. E pluribus unum, the Latin motto of the United States, from many one. Diversity, inclusion. This nation has always been about it. It's the motto, E pluribus unum, from many one. No, the Mexican isn't appropriating the Italian culture. The Italian is not appropriating the Mexican culture. Going and to a soul food restaurant isn't appropriating black culture. It's all American culture. It's all part of E pluribus unum and the great melting pot. The United States is the most diverse and inclusive nation this planet has ever seen. Period. Your diversity inclusion isn't about diversity inclusion. It's about anti-Martin Luther King Jr. style content of individual character. Your insistence on classifying everybody as part of groups and focusing on skin tone rather than not being a colorblind, diverse and inclusive society. You keep peddling segregation and separation, and look, judge not that person by their content of character, but you immediately have, oh, is that person white? Is that person black? Are they a shade in between? Are they pink with purple polka dots? What do we do then? This stuff drives me crazy. So, Gruesome, no, you're not about diversity inclusion, or you'd stop pointing out the separations, the segregations, oh, look, that is a black person. No, that is a fellow American whom I need to get to know to understand the content of their character, because just because they're black doesn't mean they have to think and behave a certain way, which goes for all whites and every skin tone in between the white and the black. Individualism, leftist collectivism, division, separation, segregation. And as proof of that, I have on my notes, right? Black only this, black only that, separation and segregation. Who is peddling? Notice the skin tone. Pay attention only to the skin tone. It's not diverse and inclusive. Oh, let me write down equity. I'll get to that in a minute. It's not diverse. It's not inclusive for you leftards to be peddling black-only graduations or black-only dorms. That's separation and segregation. That's not diverse. That's not inclusion. That's not e pluribus unum. That's not melting pot. And regarding separations, Louis Farrakhan, I mentioned, I cross him off. Blacks can be bigoted also. I hate to break it to you. Yes, there are whites who are still bigoted, and that's a problem, and I will call them out. Blacks can be bigoted too. Louis Farrakhan calls for part of the United States, several states, to be ceded over to him and others to create a black nation here on North America, separate and segregated. Again, leftism, leftards, separation, segregation, focus on the skin tone rather than the content of character. So Louis Farrakhan's black supremacist, I want my own black nation, is just as bigoted and pathetic as any white racism. Period. Period. This is not difficult to understand for someone who will engage brain cells to think and use logic and reason and common sense, not leftardism, wokeism, emotional hysteric idiocy. And anyone who pays attention can see who is the one peddling identity politics and separation and segregation. Gruesome and the leftists, the wokeists. Phil, black guy, Milt, black guy, me, are the ones talking about coming together and focusing on individual content of character, not paying attention to the skin tone. Equity, I wrote that down. Let me touch on that. I'm sorry, I'm only, not going as in depth as I'd like to on these things and think we need to. Diversity, equity, inclusion, or as Ed coined, I think he admits on air that he doesn't remember who he got it from. He didn't think of it. It's really DIE, right? It is about killing Western culture. It's anti-e pluribus unum and melting pot. It's about separation and segregation. DIE. Diversity? No, they're not for it. They want segregated dorms and segregated graduations. That's not diversity. That's not inclusion. And equity? No. Reject out of hand. We are a nation of equal opportunity, and you must, based on biblical standards, apply yourself and try to do things for yourself to accomplish. You're assured an equal opportunity, not the equity of an outcome. That's bogus. That again, they make it sound like it's inclusive. Oh, we'll all be the same. Yeah, we're all dumbed down like communism does. Commie-fascist sociocrats tear down. As Lincoln said, you don't lift up another by tearing down someone else. And that's all the left does. They tear down. Equity, equitably poor, equitably without any power or control over your own lives. They're not progressive, they're regressive. They want to return, they say no kings. What they mean by that is they reject our Judeo-Christian biblical community foundations. Our founder said, no king but King Jesus. Are they saying that? No, that's not what they're saying. They're actually rejecting Jesus. They mean no king, including King Jesus. That's what, because they want to be God. They want government to rule and dictate over all of you, and you don't get to be part of that. They want to eliminate we the people and the most diverse and inclusive governance on the planet and return to left like monarchy or communism, fascism, socialism, all leftists, top down, one or a few ruling over all. They want one party rule, just like Xi and the CCP in China, just like Putin brought back to the Soviets in Russia. One party rule. The guys who were trying to bring freedom, Gorbachev and Yeltsin, Putin was PM during Yeltsin and engaged in a coup to overthrow Yeltsin. They didn't succeed, but they were able to destroy him and other ways to oust him. And Putin and the communists, the Soviets, are in control of Russia again. They want one-party rule like in North Korea. They constantly call it Christian nationalism, the theocracy, Handmaid's Tale, blah, blah, blah. No, you're like the Ayatollahs in Iran. You're one world ungodly governance where leftism is climatarianism, planet worship rather than actual religious worship. Leftardism as God, government as God, government owning your children, indoctrinating your children, cultural Marxist destruction of the family here in the West, separate the man from the home and then separate the child from the mother. They want them for breakfast and lunch at school, not out of concern that some might be going hungry. We on the right, we had that battle here in Michigan regarding food programs, food subsistence in the schools. We need to help those who need the real help, not separate all children from their parents by having them all come to school for breakfast, all be there for lunch, and if you had their way, all be there for dinner because you want your God government and you in charge controlling all these kids, separate them and segregate them from their parents, the fascistic state as seen as their provider, their parent, not their actual parents. The projection. They call everyone a fascist, but what do? They want more, like Department of Education argument. They wanted that as top-down dictatorial fascistic rule over all children of every state. We want to restore parental rights and local control. But again, it's all about separation, segregation for power and control. We want deregulation and less government. The antithesis of fascism, which is why you project and call us all Nazis or fascists. You are the one that have 28 planks of the NSDAP in your DNC platform. Look it up. I'm not making it up. These are facts. You can verify them for yourselves. You won't because you don't know, you don't want to know, you don't care to know. All you have is your delusional feelings. Separation, segregation. Separate the man from the home, then separate the kid from the mother. Make them dependent and see the government, Lord Hillary, as their parent. It takes a village is biblical, but not in the sense Hitler meant it. It doesn't take a commie fascistic socialist state. It takes brothers and sisters, it takes mothers and fathers and grandpas and grandmas, sometimes neighbors to babysit the kid. That biblical, it takes a village, it takes a community to raise a child, not fascistic, dictatorial. They own your kids. They tell your kids how to think and behave. That's why they are fighting against the elimination of the Department of Education. Who talks about re-education camps? AOC and you on the left. If someone somehow escapes your indoctrination factory for 12, 15, 20 years' time and becomes a thinker for themselves, not a program cultist, federal government, behemoth, cultist zombie, you want to send them to re-education camps. You can't fathom that kids will actually be taught by their parents to research things on their own, to research civics that you took out of the school, that research economics that you took out of the school, to research real history that you took out of the school and replace with cultural Marxist, social studies, communist theories rather than history. If they educate themselves, they can't be leftards, and you can't stand that. You want to round them up and send them to re-education camps. The fascistic dictatorial attitude is the left. Again, projection. That's why they call us all Nazis or fascists. They call us racist. Anti-woke is really anti-black. No. We are the one repeating Martin Luther King Jr. content of character, individual. You're the one that keep pointing out, oh, you must look at their skin tone first and above all else and assign them to an appropriate group based on your leftist definition. You were the slaveholders, the racists. You did the Jim Crow laws. You did the separation and segregation law. You created the KKK to kill black and white Republicans, anyone black or white that opposed you. The GOP was founded as the abolitionist party, hence Phil's show as a Black American, the Abolitionist Roundtable, about bringing together freedom for all, equal opportunity for all. You keep peddling more separation and segregation, and look not at that person's character, but their skin tone, first and foremost and overall. Gruscum, you keep bringing up skin tone. You are why I have to respond and talk about it here. If I had my way, I'd never. If you want to end bigotry, stop peddling division and segregation. You keep trying to stoke it. You keep fueling the fires of it. You insist everyone see through the prism of skin tone. E pluribus unum. I'm going to repeat it again. Yes, repeating it again. Oh, I'm sorry about the screen there, the sunshine. Well, whatever. From many one. Not cultural appropriation, a melting pot. We absorb parts of other cultures to become our own unique American culture and share and celebrate the diversity and the inclusion. Your DIE does the opposite of that. It's about insisting on paying attention to the things that make us different rather than the things that bring us together under the melting pot, the E pluribus unum, the most diverse and inclusive nation the planet has ever seen. I've checked off all my notes, but I know there's things I'm forgetting, things I'm needing to say. But if leftards won't get it, again, they don't know. They don't want to know. They don't care to know. They cannot think. They will not think. They just want, again, no king but King Jesus. When they say no kings, they really mean no kings, and especially not King Jesus. They reject and don't want us to be a Judeo-Christian nation. They want a nation of people that worship leftism, worship wokeism, worship climate-tard planetism. It's easy to understand if one will think and see who the dividers are, who the separationists and the segregationists really are, because they're the ones constantly talking about it and constantly accusing others of being what they are and what they're doing. We want to deregulate and return things to the state. The antithesis of fascism. Gruscum has his way. He wants to be president and a dictator, and the deep state out of DC to dictate every aspect of your life. Choice. The big dodge of the left. They're only about choice when it comes to using it as a dodge for murdering babies in the womb. School choice? No. More choice in healthcare? No. Choice on anything? No. 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 You must think the way they want you to think. You must act the way they want. You having free will, free options, biblical free will and choice? No. They oppose it. The vaccine thing, I saw something on that today. And they're anti-speech. They're against free speech. Why? Because they can't win an honest argument. They are defending poison in vaccines. Mercury, poisonous toxin. It may have been the option, the best and potentially only option at one time. But this is the 21st century. There are all kinds of preservatives that could replace that mercury. But no, the left defends it as it is. They want mercury toxins to continually be put into, not just by choice, informed consent. No, dictatorial. You will do this. We insist. You take the 50 jabs, 50 doses of poisonous toxin mercury, and then claim, oh, the science is settled, though. It can't have anything to do with autism. We're not saying it is. Causation? No. Correlation? Possibly. Science is never fully settled. How many things over time? You want government leftist influence pseudoscience. Oh, it's settled. You can't talk about it. Well, if you could defend your position, you'd have no problem with real science saying science is never fully settled. Let's prove it or deny it. Your climate tardism, ClimateGate, the emails that showed you fudged the data to get the results you want. You fudge the pseudoscience. You're not about science. The science of biology, two genders, male and female, XX, XY, all else is abnormalcy. It is genetic defect. This notion you can be whatever gender you want or no gender at all is psychological mumbo-jumbo idiocy. You're not science. We can, could, and must replace the mercury in the shots if we're going to expect people to still get them. And I'm not anti-vax. I've gotten vaccines. I don't have kids, but if I did, I know Jason. He and his wife just had a kid and went through this argument at the hospital. No. Yes, you can inject my child with X, Y, and Z, but A, B, C, D, E, and F, oh, those are sexually transmitted diseases. Why are you peddling that vaccine on a 1 day old whose immune system hasn't been out into the world and had a chance to develop itself at all yet? You want to pump them full of stuff that they don't need until junior high at best, unless you're defending pedophilia. And that's why you can't have the discussion. No, they must have them all because you'll defend the pedophiles. You don't want to. You won't talk about it, which is why you must censor and shut people up. You don't want to have to defend pedophiles, but you are. There's no need for them to have shots for sexually transmitted diseases until a child is older and would potentially normally engage in that. That's all we're saying. Spread out the vaccines, replace the mercury, give parents the facts, let them be informed and choice, decide for themselves. Meanwhile, the hypocrisy, we've almost eliminated and eradicated measles and mumps and tuberculosis. Do you left have anything to say about the hordes of unvaccinated folks invading our country and reintroducing TB, mumps, measles, and other things? You insist our children, and I agree, those things they should be vaccinated against. It's been around for ages. Just remove the mercury and vaccinate for that. But do you say anything? Do you demand any proof that they've been vaccinated? You insist our kids be vaccinated, but they're unvaccinated. Just let them come in. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Hypocrisy. You stand for nothing but your wokeism, identity politics, idiocy. anti-Western, anything that destroys the West, anything that dilutes the Western culture. People aren't coming here invading, wanting to assimilate. E pluribus unum, the melting pot, assimilate, adopting bits and pieces of each other's culture. No, they're coming here flying the flag of their nation. They don't want to be part of the U.S. They want to supplant and overthrow the most diverse and inclusive nation on the planet. Okay, I don't know how long I've been rambling, but it's 3 minutes to 1 now. Ed, Your American Heritage will be coming on Wham Radio. I want and need to tune in for that. So apologies. I know rambled and jumped about again. BeforeIt'sNews.com, TheLibertyBeacon.com, Substack, Blogspot. I've written on many of these topics many times as Joseph M. Leonard or JLenardDetroit. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Joseph M. Leonard, because there is a Joseph Leonard who is also an author out of South Carolina. I have to make the distinction. I've written on these things. You can find the writings. You can find it in my books. I have no problem spelling out a thesis and allow it to be peer-reviewed, because I deal in reality and facts that can stand up to peer review. That's why you want to censor and shut us all down. Your arguments don't hold up to scrutiny, so you want to force and indoctrinate and tell everyone else to just shut up, because you can't defend your positions in an honest, real debate. So you must shut down speech. One of the items, tinyurl.com/fascocrats, goes to an article referring to the 28 planks of the NSDAP and the DNC. Fact. What do I get in response? Alinsky ad hominem personal attacks, because they cannot refute the facts. They must engage in emotional, hysterical, personal assault. Oh, I'm a racist, I'm a sexist, I'm a homophobe, right? Because we may want to defend traditional marriage, like Queers for Palestine. That's like, if some joke, chickens for KFC, or it's going to be Thanksgiving. Turkeys for Butterball? Really? Democrats are the world's largest hate group. They want women to hate men. They want blacks to hate whites, whites to hate blacks, gays to hate Christians. We're not the ones throwing you from buildings or stoning you to death, but yet you morons have Queers for Palestine, where they literally are throwing you from buildings and stoning you to death. We just want traditional marriage to remain intact. You can have a civil union, so you have contractual protections just like any other married couple, but it's not the same. Traditional marriage, again, destroy. That's all you know how to do. Destroy. This is not the greatest civil rights movement since the civil rights movement. All this rainbow alphabet mafia garbage in movies. This isn't the civil rights thing of our days. This is not oppression like actual civil rights warriors fought in the 50s, 60s, and 70s here in America. It's not even close to the same. You know it. You don't care. It's just a wedge issue. You want women to hate, gays to hate Christians, though we're not throwing on you from a building. I don't hate you. I love you. I have gay and lesbian friends. They know my positions. We have no problem with each other. Another article, BeforeIt'sNews.com. I know I got to go when I've gone on. Gay Pride Month from years ago. Gaytivists who engage in gaytivism, the ones wanting pedophilia. that's a red line. That's not tolerance and acceptance. That's recruitment. That's recognizing biology doesn't afford for you perpetuating your kind. You must recruit. You want to recruit. You're not just for, well, John Doe, I'm not going to use his real name, that I know, a white American who happens to be gay, but he's not a gatetivist engaging in gativism. Tolerance and acceptance. Final judgment is for the Lord. I pray for his soul. I hope he comes back. But the ultimate judgment is between him and God, not me. I don't hate him. He doesn't hate me. He knows I don't hate him just because I would prefer he not be allowed to engage in a traditional marriage with another man. That's not hate. All right, I could go for 3 days interrelating all this stuff back and forth together. The hate comes from the left. The separation comes from the left. The segregation comes from the left. The focus on skin tone comes from the left. All of that anti-negative stuff comes from the left. And anyone can see it if they open their eyes and their ears to hear it, what's being said. All right. Thank you all. Take care. God bless. Love you all. Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help. Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.